Now, I'm thrilled to be here because when your wife sent me an email and I said, will I come and launch your book, it struck a chord with me because that great journalistic thing that I've tried to instill in a lot of young journalists, if you don't ask, you don't get. And if you do ask, you can get. And since I had my liver transplant, I've tried to be a bit more benevolent about doing things. I've got my own little personal Good Samaritan things I try to do, which the first one I did was a weird one because I got while I was still locked up under house arrest for 5 months, I got this email from a young woman who said, I'm engaged to get married, and my fiancé I want to get married. I've told him I don't want to get married because the only two people in my whole life I'd like to give me away, walk me down the aisle, would be my father or Derryn Hinch. And my father is dead, and both our parents are dead, and so I thought I'd write to you. I live in Mooney Ponds, and I'm getting married on Thursday, Saturday's a date in January at 7 o'clock. So I wrote back to her and said, I know it's preposterous, I know it's terribly presumptuous, and I totally understand if you won't do it. And I said, you are presumptuous, and it's preposterous. I don't like Mooney Ponds. I don't think I've ever been to Mooney Ponds. I'm an atheist. And at 6 o'clock, an hour before you were getting married, I happen to be still on air. There's no way I can get to there on time, but I'll do it. And so on that very night, I arrived in a limo out of her house. I figured it was her because she's the only person wearing a bridal gown standing outside a house in Mooney Ponds. And as I walked, she didn't tell any of her friends. I walked her down the aisle, and her friends were saying, how the hell does Elizabeth know Derryn Hinch? And we had a lovely night with her and her partner and her friends at the reception afterwards. Now, Mark, I've got some advice for you as an author. The first novel, as you now know, it's an old joke. It's 5% inspiration and 95% perspiration. You can't lie. You simply lock yourself away in the room, and you can fart around and fool around and sit there and think, I'm having a great time writing today, and you know how little you have done, and there's not much there, and your family thinks you've been slaving at a hot typewriter for 8 hours, and there's nothing much coming out, and you're the one person you can't fool. I think I'm on my 12th or 30th or 40th book, I'm not sure at the moment, it's next week. That was an easy one because I was locked up for 5 months, so I had nothing much else to do. I wasn't going anywhere, you know. I had a captive audience of one, and it was me. So I wrote, and it's called A Human Deadline, and it's a story of life, death, hope, and house arrest. It sort of covers the waterfront for that period of time. I give some advice as a writer. I read once somebody said the best way to be a successful author is to marry money. So that's the best way to do it, marry money. The other thing is that my ex-wife, Jackie Weaver, when I was working on a book, we'd be sitting having lunch, and out of the blue she'd suddenly say, look at me, and she'd say, you are writing. We're sitting at dinner, having a quiet, lovely dinner. She'd say, you are writing. And I'd say, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. But in fact, you in your head, you drifted off somewhere, and you suddenly think, oh, that could go so-and-so, that could go so-and-so. The other thing is, I don't know about you, I actually like writing dialogue in the shower. I found that I'm writing novels in the shower that would come to me just a good time. And that's what I find, I watch it like a hawk in somebody will ring my mother and pick me up on it. One of the worst things about some novels is the dialogue is not real. I mean, we don't talk in complete sentences. We don't speak the way a lot of dialogue is written. And I think if you get over that, you've suddenly got something going. I did read a lot of your book, and I thought that two things. I'm glad I don't know many people in your family, because they say your first novel, 70% of it is autobiographical. 70% of the first novel is autobiographical. So your family's is rooted in it, too. Especially your mum. But I did find out that some lovely stuff, brought some memories of Mystic, Connecticut. You can talk about Mystic because we used to pass through Mystic on the way to cover the America's Cup. And sit there and have beautiful lobster. It's the most pretty town down on the water there in Connecticut. The criticism I have for you about your book is that I hate people who write in capitals. Ka-thunk, whatever it was. If you can't do it in your own words, you don't have to. It's shouting on Twitter. You know, if anybody writes to me in capitals, I don't read it because you think You know, you surely get across the words. But having criticised you, I'm now to criticise myself because, glasses here. My editor, I'm glad she's not here and this is being recorded because she will write this down and throw it at me all the time. Every author needs a good editor. Every author needs a strong editor. Every author needs an editor who will tell them you're full of crap and that won't work. And I say that because this young bloke here wrote a novel about 20 years ago called Death in Paradise. It's two parts of a three-part of a trilogy that I'm still the third leg to drop. But unfortunately, the editor who did this one was a little bit annoyed on television at the time, and she didn't argue hard enough against me. Every change she suggested, I just overrode it or ignored it, and boy was she right, and was I wrong. Because having decided I was going to mention your capital letters, I thought I'm going to go and find one. I didn't have to go very far, because I knew the one that I was embarrassed and ashamed of in my own novel, and it's on page 149. It's about, I wrote a novel about the sinking of the Rainbow Warrior in Auckland Harbour by the French, and I was very anti-French in the nuclear tests, and I ignored the idea about if you want to send a message, use Western Union. I actually wrote a whole novel about it, and I invented a character called Monique Monet, who was a bombshell actress from France. It was obviously based on Bridget Bardot. As research, this is when research is good fun, beats the hell out of Mr. Connecticut. I went to Monte Carlo, I went to Nice, I went to Bardot's home and knocked on the door to see if she'd talk to me. She wasn't there. But I based it all, it's an awful word faction. I mean, everything that happened to Monique Monet in my real life, she's an actress, she does it, she loves animals, she does all that. And she was in my character, I took her to Papeete in Tahiti, where the French tests were about to go off at Mururoa. And the plan was to, the French government, and this is not so far-fetched, because people would have thought that an ally of New Zealand would actually put bombers into Waitemata Harbour in Auckland, put bombs on limpet mines on the Rainbow Warrior and sink it, in which a photographer died. And in my journalist mind, I decided to have they would kill Bridget Bardot because she was going to renounce her citizenship over the works. And then I wrote. There's a journalist, speaking of early novels being set into biographical, I had an Australian journalist, a bit of a drunk, a bit of a womanizer, his name was Jonathan Hunter. I was going to call him Derek Hunter until Sunday night at DH, it was too close, so that was when it became nothing, we should change the name. And I actually wrote this, I'll read you two paragraphs. Papeete. They were still great tits. Whichever way you looked at them, and Hunter had looked at them a few ways in recent days, they were still great tits. And I actually wrote that as an intro to one of my chapters, so I still remember page 149. I found nothing like that in your book. I still wrote. I haven't seen you've written two others, so I'm only speaking too early. Look, I'll hand you over one quick thing. Jack Nicholson, in a movie called The Shining, he played that actor with a typewriter. And he actually changed the script. I interviewed him once, and he changed the script, and added into the script something from his own personal experience. He'd been arguing with his wife about his own work, his own writing. And he used it in The Shining, an argument he has with his movie character in the movie. And he says to her, and it's burned in my head, he says, just because I'm not typing, it doesn't mean I'm not writing. And Nicholson, he really meant it, he said it in the movie. Anyway, good luck with your book. I don't need to say any more. I'll hand it over to you, and it's a pleasure and an honour to be here. Thank you.